Question number 1, can I legally transport a firearm while traveling through a highly restricted state? Yes. One of the provisions of the Firearm Owners Protection Act, passed in 1986, is called the Safe Passage provision. Here's what it says. Notwithstanding any other provision of any law or any rule or regulation of a state or any political subdivision thereof, any person who is not otherwise prohibited by this chapter from transporting, shipping, or receiving a firearm shall be entitled to transport a firearm for any lawful purpose from any place where he may lawfully possess and carry such firearm, to any other place where he may lawfully possess and carry such firearm, if, during such transportation, the firearm is unloaded and neither the firearm nor any ammunition being transported is readily accessible, or is directly accessible from the passenger compartment of such transporting vehicle, provided that in the case of a vehicle without a compartment separate from the driver's compartment, the firearm or ammunition shall be contained in a locked container other than the glove compartment or console. According to the federal law, as long as you follow a few simple guidelines, it is lawful to transport a firearm through a highly restricted state, like New York, New Jersey, Illinois, or California. However, I would also encourage you to research the specific laws for each state you will be entering. It is always recommended to speak with a qualified attorney. Question 2, does Florida have a three-step rule? Currently, the three-step rule is one of the biggest myths that exist in the state of Florida. The three-step rule says that in order to transport a firearm inside of a vehicle, there are 3 distinct actions a person must take to gain access to the firearm. For example, step 1, the firearm is unloaded. Step 2, the firearm is placed inside of a zippered gun bag. Step 3, the gun case is locked inside the glove box. If a person needed to gain access to the firearm for self-defense, they would first have to unlock and open the glove box. Next, they would have to remove the firearm from the gun case. Finally, they would have to load the firearm. Needless to say, this is extremely time-consuming, and our victim would probably be dead by the time they gained access to the firearm. Despite the fact that the three-step rule has never existed in the state of Florida, it is still frequently stated as fact by uneducated gun owners and law enforcement officers. Question number 3, are there any changes in reciprocity with a Florida non-resident concealed carry permit? Yes, some states do not honor a non-resident concealed weapons permit from the state of Florida. These states include Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Colorado, just to name a few. However, this list is always changing, so be sure to research the laws before traveling to another state with a firearm. Question number 4, what is the minimum age to have a firearm inside of a vehicle? The minimum age to possess a firearm inside of a vehicle is 18 years old. Florida Statute 790.25, subsection 5. It is lawful and not a violation for a person 18 years of age or older to possess a concealed firearm or other weapon for self-defense or other lawful purpose within the interior of a private conveyance without a license if the firearm or other weapon is securely encased or is otherwise not readily accessible for immediate use. Question number 5, should I get a carry permit from more than one state? You know, it kind of depends. Recently, one of my students was kind of upset because Washington State does not recognize the Florida concealed weapons permit. So this individual frequently travels to Washington to visit friends and family, and he would like to continue carrying a firearm while in that state. I suggested that he apply for a non-resident concealed carry permit from the state of Washington. This would allow him to conceal his firearm across the country with his Florida carry permit and continue to carry a firearm once in Washington state. Question number 6, what are the requirements for transporting a firearm with a convicted felon in the vehicle? The primary requirement is that the firearm must never be in the felon's possession. In my opinion, the best thing to do is to keep the firearm physically on your body. I think it would be very dangerous to keep a firearm inside of the glove box or center console with a prohibited person in the vehicle. If you were stopped by the police and the officer discovered the firearm, I think they would assume that it was in the possession of the felon, and they could go to prison. Question number 7, is it legal to bring a firearm or ammunition on an airplane inside of your carry-on luggage? Absolutely not. Firearm magazines, loaded or unloaded, and ammunition must be included within the hard case containing your unloaded firearm. Section 49 of the Code of Federal Regulations states that the ammunition must be packaged in the original packaging, or it must be in a case specifically designed to hold ammunition. Surprisingly, you can travel with up to 11 pounds of ammunition. Now, the only firearm-related item that I've heard TSA will allow you to have in your carry-on luggage is an optic. So this would be a scope or something of that nature, because they are very sensitive. You don't want to get them banged around, and they can be extremely expensive. Question number 8, what are the rules for carrying a firearm across state lines inside of an RV? The requirements for transporting a firearm across state lines in an RV are the exact same as if you were traveling inside of a car. This is a big misconception for people. For some reason, people believe that because they're now in an RV, the rules are somehow different. They are not. An RV is still classified as a conveyance, so the exact same rules apply. Question number 9. What would happen if someone saw my firearm while riding on a motorcycle? In the state of Florida, the accidental showing of a firearm is not a crime. However, there is a major difference between your shirt accidentally blowing up and you lifting your shirt up to scare another driver. Unfortunately, most people are afraid of firearms. And if a driver sees your gun, they may call 911. I personally think it's best to prevent this type of scenario from ever occurring, and that's why I encourage everybody riding a bike, if you're not able to prevent your shirt from going up, you probably need to keep the gun inside of a man bag. Question 10, can I have a rifle or shotgun in plain view on a rifle rack? Even if the answer is yes, is it really worth it? Criminals love to steal firearms because they can be sold on the street very easily for top dollar. Second, do you really want to take the chance that some anti-gun nut is going to call 911? Over-exaggerate, and now you have a SWAT team pull you over on the freeway? I don't want to take that chance.